Today, we'll answer the question, does snow dogs still melt our hearts, or has it left us out in the cold?
Well, just keep in mind it's targeted towards children.
Also, we'll enjoy a little trivia.
What number of live-action films was this for Disney that Disney produced?
And best of all, we'll answer the real question. How are you going to rate it? Are you going to take it home? Are you going to watch it at Grandma's? Or are you going to hide it in the attic? Stick around and find your spot on the couch because we're watching another movie at Grandma's. Hello. Please come in. There's some fresh cookies in the cookie jar. There's a pitcher of Kool-Aid on the counter. Have a seat and make yourself comfortable. Welcome to Movies at Grandma's House, where we love to revisit the movies from our childhood and answer the question, does it still hold up? And is it family friendly enough that even Grandma will enjoy? And I'm your host, Isaac. Well, that explains why you were crazy about that Michael Bolton guy.
And this is Seth. I got on a plane, and 14 hours of prayer later, here I am.
Welcome, one and all. It is fantastic to see you, Seth. What's Grandma putting on for us to watch today?
2002's Snow Dogs.
So if you have not seen this film, this is a fair warning. We are going to be breaking it down, giving our experience of revisiting this movie. So if you have not seen it, we are going into spoiler territory, so consider yourself warned. Well, let's look on the back of the film case to get a little bit more about this film and some film facts. So Snow Dogs was released back on January 18th, 2002. It had a budget of $33 million. The box office, $115 million. Looking around at some reviews, IMDb sits at a 5.2 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes is a 26%. Letterboxd has a 2.4 out of 5. Currently, as of this recording, you can watch it for free streaming on Disney Plus and Amazon Prime. It stars Cuba Gooding Jr., James Coburn, Cisco, Michelle Nicholas, and many more. It's an association with Buena Vista Pictures. And we have to now hear, how is Grandma feeling about this film?
Granny's family-friendly rating for Snow Dogs is a B for adult themes and a few intense scenes.
There you go. We're going to be talking about it more, but we want to hear from you. Any memories you have, how you would rate this film, be sure to drop us down a comment below. Well, let's start. Again, this was back in 2002 when this first came out. I'm interested to hear, Seth, what are your first memories with this movie?
So I slightly recall seeing this when this was newer, but I didn't really remember that much of it, so it was pretty fresh.
I don't know what it was when this first came out. It just looked a little too childish for me, to be honest. I didn't have an interest in watching it. I really like Cuba Gooding Jr. He's a great actor. I mean, there's all kinds of nominations, Oscar wins. It goes on his resume. Just look it up. I mean, if you've never heard of him, I'm going to be shocked. But he's really great. And I'm thinking, well, maybe it was just I was too old for it at the time. So I don't really have any memories. This was my first time watching this one all these years later. Well, with that in mind, I'm interested. What were your expectations going back on the rewatch?
Well, since it was so much of a fresh, clean slate, I really didn't have much of expectations for this one.
I see. I kind of had the same. I don't really know what to expect. I thought the first time around it looked a little silly, but now I have my children, of course. So maybe I was thinking this is going to be a good time because they'll enjoy it. Then I can get some enjoyment out of it too. But I did have that expectation of I just hope it's good. Maybe I judged it wrong and didn't give it a fair shake, so to say. Well, before we get into the plot rewind, let's pause just a moment to hear from our sponsors. Hey, love movies as much as we do? Then bring the experience of the theater to your walls with movieposters.com. Whether you're into the classics, the blockbusters, or indie gems, they have something for every single film fanatic. As a listener of our podcast, you can save up to 15% on your order right now. Just use code Grandma's House at checkout. Head to movieposters.com and let's build your ultimate collection today. Let's pull up Disney Plus, let's select Snow Dogs, and press play.
Ted Brooks, a Miami dentist, suddenly finds out that he was adopted and that his birth mother has passed away, and that he's in the will. So he travels to Alaska for the will's reading. But what did she leave him? A pack of snow dogs. Get your hot chocolate ready and a blanket as Granny puts on another Disney film.
Okay, so this is, I don't know, the best way I can put it, family-friendly, focused movie. Right off the bat, it feels like it's got that tone, a Disney live action. That's what I was bringing in. And it was actually kind of interesting the way it was going. I was not expecting that plot point that you mentioned. And as it goes on, it becomes a kind of a central point. We'll talk about it more, but I'm interested to hear your thoughts. What's your first impressions as you're watching this movie?
Okay, so I thought going into this one that it was going to be much cheesier than it was. So I had the very similar feeling as to you did. It actually held my attention quite well, and I was actually surprised how well they told the story.
Right on, exactly. I can't put it any better. That's what I was expecting, but then I was kind of like, this is trying to balance it out. Now, there's a lot of silly. I will mention, like, the dogs.
Mm-hmm.
It gets animated, like their eyes and stuff. And I'll be honest, I wasn't a fan of that. I was kind of like, it was unnecessary. They could have, maybe we're spoiled. We've considered a lot of dog movies, and they're more natural. They're not, you could obviously tell, went in and CGI or whatever to these dogs to show their expressions. And some people love that. There's another movie I'm thinking of. I think it's called like Cats and Dogs or something, where their mouth moves and they do all that stuff. I know those movies were smash hits, but I'm just not a fan of that. If I'm going to say one thing that was off-putting, but everything else, I was pleasantly surprised. It was like you said, it wasn't going to be overly the top cheesy. There are some cheesy moments, but it's trying to capture, again, kids and family. So they don't act embarrassed about it. They're just like, hey, this is what you're going to get. This is a Disney live action movie, and we're going to have some fun with Cuba Gooding Jr. in it. I mean, that's kind of the aim. I think they capture it very well. And again, going back to the plot, that's actually a pretty heavy plot. What did you think of the story overall?
So really, I thought the plot was strong, although there's not much of a plot. The plot is carried by the humor and action. So it's told through the characters. It's not so much told through the actual storyline, if that makes sense.
Right. It's just interesting. Like, I was not expecting that at all. I figured he's obviously out of his realm. I remember the trailers of just like, he's got these dogs and he's constantly out of touch with them. Like he was sprung upon him. So I thought, well, maybe he's going to inherit these dogs, which was kind of a part of the story, but being adopted, that's kind of a heavy subject to go along with. And then we'll get into the characters, but certain characters, it's just back and forth of, is this his real father? Is this his family? That becomes, like you're saying, kind of the driving point with, hilarity that will ensue with just your, I guess, slapstick comedy and Cuba Gooding Jr. In constant peril, kind of Home Alone style. Is that the best way you describe this kind of comedy?
It's similar. You're not wrong. I was thinking too, you mentioned the trailer. I was thinking the exact same thing. So the trailer, I feel like I remember the trailer, and it was really light. Like it was like for 5 or 6 year olds. And then you watch the movie and it's like for much older kids. And yeah, we might get into that a little deeper, but wow, it shocks you right from the get-go.
It does. It's just different. I was not expecting like legal papers and all this more things in a kid's movie or a family movie. It was just kind of like, okay, but it still, I think, was done well. It's an interesting story. I don't expect like you got to have this amazing story, but you got to have something. Obviously, you're not just going to throw Cuba Gooding Jr. in there with dogs and say, okay, we're going to just improvise. You got to have some structure going. And that's how I feel the story is. Is it amazing? No. Is it terrible? No. I mean, it just works, I guess, is the best way. That's all I can really say about the plot, the story. It leaves you guessing, again, who's his father? Is there any other family involved? Those types of things. But go into the characters. I mean, what did you think of Cuba Gooding Jr.? Any other characters? Ted Brooks is his name, but interesting character names. Thunder Jack is one I'm going to have to come back to, but I want to hear from you first.
I really liked the woman who played Barb. She did an amazing job because she didn't have that many lines, but I felt you immediately knew her character right up front. Ted was great, but also his mother Amelia Brooks, and then I believe it's his brother Rupert, and then Thunder Jack. They all were really well casted. I thought each of them played a good part, and even though some of the roles were smaller, I thought they were done really well.
I was thinking the same thing. Like
Yeah.
Cisco plays Rupert Brooks. I didn't realize that was his brother, but he works at the dentist office with him, and I was laughing. Like he had some great lines going on. Then they're getting the documents, like I was mentioning, the legal documents, and it's kind of jumping ahead, but I just wanted to bring out the quote. Like he says, "I shouldn't have drilled using my left hand, but he dared me." He was like trying to act like he didn't get in trouble. I don't know why. I found his character hilarious, and he's not in it for very long. I mean, he's just kind of here and there. So I agree completely with you. I actually got a kick out of the supporting characters as much as I will say this is, again, Cuba Gooding Jr., just different, not in a. I will just be honest, this is not an Oscar-worthy movie by any means. This is just a family flick, but he does a great job. I mean, it's kind of humor seeing him put through all this peril and all this chaos with these dogs and the wildlife. I mean, I made a note. What were you taken out of it a little bit at times because of how over the top the comedy and things happening to him was, or did you think it was pretty well level?
I'll get to that. I think in my final review, I honestly, the first viewing that I watched this with, it was a little difficult to watch, but I came back to it again, and I'll talk about that in the final review, and we'll get my thoughts on how I felt about it. But let's say the first viewing was a lot harder to watch, and I could see why it might be off putting the first time someone watched it.
Right. That's probably a word of caution. Like you're gonna have to really give it time to simmer. I don't think right off the bat you're gonna be like, "This is great, I got it." It's easing in. Maybe like when the pool's too cold and you gotta really get into the movie more, because I made a note of this. It was just like every possible encounter in Alaska. That's where he goes, and it's a skunk, a bear. I think there's some wolves at some point. Like at least they're there. You don't see them. And he should have died like 3 times at one scene. It was kind of crazy. He he's chased by a bear. Which first of all, my kids were like, "How fast are bears?" And I'm like, they would catch him. Like there's no way he can outrun a bear. And again, it's for comedy. You just turn that part of your brain off of like, realistically, this bear should have caught him. But then he falls off of a cliff, and it's not like a little fall. It's a pretty good ways down there. He lands on his feet. I'm like, that should have shattered his ankles instantly. And then it breaks, and he falls down the slope even more, and then falls into icy river. And it's just like, this poor guy, man. In real life, he really should have been in a hospital by the end of that. What did you think of that scene?
Well, just keep in mind it's targeted towards children our age. It's a little hard to watch at times. Like I said, at the first viewing, it didn't quite click with me. Yeah, there's some scenes in there that are like, did they just do that? But it's still got good qualities, and the acting I thought was really strong in this film, given the plot.
Yes. So with all the silliness, the acting is well done. And again, the premise is he's adopted and he's meeting actual family or learning about actual family. That's some heavy themes to be put in a movie for family. And I'm sure ones can relate in that situation, but at the same time, the acting goes with it. They're telling of his family and learning about them. I really enjoyed those scenes, but I will stress that though. I mean, on the flip side, you have one side where it's like, yeah, this is good. It's moving the plot along. Like you said, the characters and the comedy moves it, because that is where he almost dies, but then he gets rescued by the Thunder Jack, who keeps going back and forth as he his adopted father or not. So that does move the story along about those plot lines. But just be fair warned. I guess that's the best way to say. You're gonna have to judge for yourself. You can't sit there and say, "Oh, everybody's gonna love this." I think some people might have a gripe with it here too, but you might get a kick out of it if you understand the premise. I guess that's the best way I'm trying to go with it. But yeah, anything else that you want to touch on? Anything as far as story, comedy again, or whatnot?
I've got 3 small quotes that I'd like to bring out. I thought they were really amusing. The first one was, "If you're ever in Miami, look me up. My number's on all the buses." I like that line.
That was a good one.
The second one was, I'm a big Bear fan. Sure, my man Smokey the Bear, Yogi, Walter Payton. And then the last one, I'm afraid to say this last one, but I want to say it anyway. And to Thunderjack, I leave my outhouse and all its contents.
Yes. I love that line. And then he laughs. It's like it pauses and then he laughs at it too. So I thought that was a great, my kids thought that was a funny part too. They play on Michael Bolton a little bit. There's a scene where he like hallucinates and Michael Bolton sings, and then the end credits are Michael Bolton. So I find that funny too. Like they are about the silly, slapstick, something happening to Cuba Gooding Jr. But then it also kind of has these like, I don't know, I wouldn't call them deep cuts, but it's just, I think adults would appreciate it. They knew how big Michael Bolton was if you were alive in the 80s, 90s especially. That type of thing. I like that. I did like another quote. It was, I think it's Bill Murray's brother. He's like a guy with no teeth that's up there and he's in the bar. And he's like, I've been waiting years for a dentist to come around here. I got a canker sore in the back of my throat. Isn't that a terrible stench? And he's just like breathing into his mouth, his bass. I thought that was hilarious. Of course, it's Bill Murray's brother. He's kind of always in that minor role, but there's some funny stuff here. If you just give it a chance, if you just, again, understand this is a family movie, it's going to be silly at times, but even adults, I think you'll catch on to some quotes as well. But anything else that you wanted to touch on?
Yeah, I've got so I really appreciated Ted's character arc, how he wanted to embrace his family and his continued search for who he was. He didn't back down from but kept going forward. And then I also enjoyed his character, the journey that he took. It was just amazing. And I think that the acting at times is a little over the top, but it's not over the top to the point where it's like too much for the story, because it kind of fits in. It just has its place. And I'll get into it later. But yeah, the second time viewing, I had a very different reaction to this film.
Yeah. There's some good scenes like you mentioned there. Just, there's good acting. It turns out that, Thunderjack is his father. Of course, we've mentioned spoilers already and all that, but he realizes it because he sees that old picture with Thunderjack with his mom, races back he gives him the dogs in exchange for telling him what was the deal with his father, and he didn't tell the whole truth. Long story short, he rescues him because he tries to enter that race. He gets, stranded. And there's a lot of those scenes. If you're looking for heart, this does have it. It's not going to be, again, this Oscar-worthy movie, but it does what it's supposed to. It moves the plot along. It gets you immersed if you allow it to. Again, I'll go back to maybe it's not your cup of tea, but I think it worked well. What else do you want? Again, don't expect this to be the best drama acting you've ever seen, but you got to give credit where it's due.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I'm sure you've got some fun facts, possibly. If you do, I'm interested to hear.
So many of the dogs went on to appear in a little movie called A Blow.
Really?
Yes.
We had this discussion, like just how weird it is. This is more on the funny, silly side, family. And they have A Blow, which is more on the serious and dramatics. And I got them both confused.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I did the same thing.
It was the dogs. That's what it was. I'll just say it was the dogs.
It had to be the dogs. It had to be. All right, so the next one was Ted encounters a big brown bear. They used a stunt double to stand in for Cuba, with 2 trainers standing off camera, cueing the bear's actions. The bear was rewarded with lots of big treats and hugs.
It did look like a tame bear, I'll just say. Like, if you're really paying attention, normally a wild bear, it's going to be a little more, you could tell, but it was well shot. Like, kudos to those trainers. They're able to make that work. And some scenes are more complicated than others, but that's really cool.
All right. The next one is I love this one, by the way. In the early bar scene, Graham Greene is seen wearing a Bogey Inn shirt. Bogey Inn is a golf-themed restaurant and bar in Powell, Ohio, adjacent to the Muirfield Village Golf Court Club, where the Memorial Tournament is played.
Oh, nice. I like that one too. Yeah. Coming, we're Ohio, we got our roots there. I know where that's at. So that's really cool. I did not catch that, though.
Yeah, I didn't either. I watched it over and over again. I didn't catch it.
Man, it was still great. I'm glad you brought that out. That's awesome.
And then it's time for a fun fact trivia question. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready. I'm feeling good.
I think you're going to get this one.
All right.
So what number of live action films was this for Disney that Disney produced? A, 178, B, 181, or C, 193? Now, think about this for a second. This is live action Disney.
Yeah.
So where do you think it would land in those numbers?
Woo.
Do you want the numbers again?
Something's telling me the 181. Is that what you said?
What you're going to go with?
I think if that was at 181, right?
Yeah.
I'll go with that. I'll lock it in.
You're correct.
I thought that was a shot in the dark. I was just, there's something telling me. But that's fascinating.
I think you've got a little bit of an educated guess there because we have sometimes mentioned those in the fun facts, and I think it was right around that time. And so I think that was an educated guess. You're not giving yourself enough credit.
Maybe.
You might have known that in the back of your brain.
It had to be. There's something telling me try that one because our brains work in mysterious ways. They're able to drop you hints. So maybe you did.
I honestly tried to trick you at the last one because I moved it up way ahead of the other one. So, all right,
awesome.
All right, that was it.
So, all right. Well, I'm on the winning streak again. That is awesome. I'm feeling great. Well, before we get to our review, our rating, we like to look around the net. We just like to see what other people are feeling about it. So, Seth, what kind of reviews are you seeing out there?
So the first review is another repeat offender. Smells_like_cheese said, a very cute and entertaining family film, 6 out of 10.
Okay. And it's great to see a familiar face, too. That seems like it's been a while since we've heard from Smells Like Cheese. So that's a good one.
Another one, the little songbird, my favorite, said, not a bad movie, actually, 7 out of 10.
Okay.
I like that review.
No, actually, it's the actually that's great about
Yeah,
this.
it's not a bad movie, actually. Yeah. So it's kind of along with what we said, because when we thought about it, we were like, oh, this is going to be so cheesy. That's not a bad movie, actually.
I like it. I think I agree with that.
I hope I'm pronouncing this right. So Michael Rokeefe said, mush through the slush, 3 out of 10.
Ooh. Yeah. That's a good one, though. I like it. Mush through the slush. I mean, that's probably someone that didn't like that kind of humor. I will say it's still the animation of the dogs. I wish they would have just left that alone. Just let the dogs act as normal and let you use your imagination. But I understand. Again, not everybody's this is you need to just watch it and find out for yourself kind of a movie for sure. Well, before we also get to our reviews, we like to put movies through the kid test. It's something we've just started doing here recently. Seth brought that idea up, so I have to keep giving him credit for that. It is so much fun to watch my kids react. And for this kind of a movie, I think this was more up their alley. I've got 4 kids, and one, he's about 10 years old. He seemed entertained throughout. He was probably the one that didn't like it as much as the others, but he still seemed to like it. He actually told me I would watch it at Grandma's. That was his rating. He doesn't normally give me a rating. He'll just say, I liked it or I didn't. He actually came out and said, I'd watch it at Grandma's. He said that he didn't like the love story. He's at that age where...
I wondered about that.
Yeah, that was what was off-putting. So I think if there was less of the romance, you mentioned Barb, her character, and Ted, it might have been more appealing to him, but he still enjoyed it. I mean, he just said that was kind of weird. That was his words of the romance. So, if you got ones around that age that they might feel the same way, I'm not sure. But my 8-year-old laughed throughout. He said he would take it home. He loved it. He got a great kick out of just the comedy, the constant peril. I mean, he was just always running for his life, it felt like, and he was just giggling and laughing at the same time. I feel so bad. It's like, I know this is fictional, but it's like this person's in trouble and my son's laughing at it. But that's what they're trying to go for in this movie, obviously, with the comedy. And my 5-year-old or 6-year-old, he's about the same. It didn't quite hold his attention as much, which was interesting to me. I thought it would be more up his alley. But he actually also said he'd watch it at grandma's. Like, he liked it enough that he would probably revisit it. My 3-year-old, he kind of lost his attention. He's just at that age. I mean, when you're talking 3 years old, you got to have something loud or flashing to hold him the whole time. But when there was dogs, he stopped what he's doing. He was, distracted with something else. So he seemed to enjoy it. So overall, I think the kids are going to enjoy this in one shape or another. Maybe they don't love it, but there's something in there for everybody. Maybe your older kids don't like the romance like mine did, but overall, I think it passes the kid test. So that's what we can keep in mind overall. All right, so let's get down to it. I'm going to ask you the question, Seth. For Snow Dogs, how are you going to rate it? Are you going to take it home? Are you going to watch it at grandma's? Or are you going to hide it in the attic?
All right. So like I mentioned, I watched this twice in preparation. On the first viewing, I only connected with a few scenes. On the second viewing, because I paid attention, really focused, I watched it and I was glued. This is surprisingly well told and fun, even though at times is heavy. I loved it. And it might surprise you, but I'm going to take this home.
Wow. That's going to be one of the most 180 ratings we've ever had that you can. Do you think of one you've had that where you didn't really like it and then you watched it again and then just completely changed your mind?
I can't think of the name of it, but I remember not too long ago, we covered something that I really disliked and I loved it when we covered it. But it doesn't happen often. And actually, usually what's funny about this is usually the second I try to watch them all twice. The second time I watch it, I usually dislike it more. It was 180. It's 180.
Yeah, you almost have to make a note of that though, because I'll say to people sometimes I don't like a movie, and they'll come back and be like, "How could you not like it?" But the problem is, you might really love a movie because the first time you watch it, it's great. But then, like you said, you go back and watch it again, it doesn't have rewatchability. There's things that you now see like, oh, like I didn't catch that the first time, and it actually makes it worse. And that's what we're all about here. Like, you might think in your mind, I saw this when I was growing up, and now as an adult, you come back to it, it's like, oh, no, actually, this isn't what I remembered, or there's things in it that I don't like anymore or didn't catch.
Toy Story 4, I really disliked it.
Yes, there you go.
And then it turned around, and every time I watch it here on out, I love it more and more and more. It's actually one of my favorite films. I love that movie.
There you go.
And this happened with Snow Dogs. I had no idea coming in that was going to happen, but I love it. I would watch it right now if I could.
That's really cool. That's what I love to see is just you give things a chance and you never know. We just talked about it. Like, our first glance was, this might be too silly for me, or this is not that great. But that's awesome. I love hearing those kinds of experiences. That's what it's all about, because the movie should be about your experience. Are you going to have a good time with this movie? Even if it is with, Snow Dogs in a silly manner, you can have a great time with it. So I think we discussed it. Like, this is actually better than you'd expect. If I was going to summarize it, it's probably going to be better. I don't want to hype it up for someone that's never seen this. So go into it with low expectations, but you might be surprised, because I was kind of that opinion. This isn't going to be that great. But I enjoyed my time. Like I said, I did watch it with my kids, and it's a lot of fun if you've got little ones, because if they find the humor funny, you're going to be laughing right along with them. But what we talked about, there's actually good acting in this. There's some heart. They have good characters. I mean, the characters are kind of the side characters. I can't get over that. Like, I really enjoyed the side characters. Sometimes you have someone That's the, title person, Cuba Gooding Jr. Again, big name. I was thinking, oh, okay, it's just going to be centered around him, which it does, but the supporting characters build the movie up that much more. I really enjoyed this one overall. I wouldn't take it home, so I'm going to watch it at Grandma's, but I really do look forward to revisiting this one again. I'll say that. Like, this isn't going to be one like, every once in a while. Like, if it's on again, I don't think I would mind. I would definitely make sure I've got the kids with me. They just add to that experience. But yeah, this was a pleasant surprise. That's another way I would kind of summarize it. Just give it a chance. Who knows? Maybe you like the comedy. Maybe it's just got that heart that you're looking for in those types of movies. Well, there you go, folks. Another film in the books. Seth, this was so much fun. Kind of matches the tone as of this recording. We've been getting hit with all these snowstorms. It's been frigid. This is kind of an appropriate movie to consider. So this was a lot of fun. Absolutely. But before we go, we got to make sure we tell the good people where they can find and connect with us. So Seth, why don't you let them know all of our handles so they can drop us a line, let us know what they think of Snow Dogs.
We are on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, as well as TikTok at Latix Media. That is, you can email us at moviesatgrandmashouse@gmail.com. And we have an awesome newsletter. We are on Patreon. And we're brought to you by movieposters.com. So be sure to use code Grandma's House at checkout for up to 15% off.
All good stuff. Yes, be sure you're on our newsletter. We love to see ones grow that because that's where you can keep up with us the best, but we love to give back to you. That's where you can win a free movie poster. As Seth mentioned, movieposters.com. They sponsor us each month. So all you got to do is be on the newsletter. You get a free entry once per month. It's lots of fun, so don't miss out. The link will be down in the description below. Well, that's going to do it for our time at Grandma's, but don't worry, we will be back soon. So in the meantime, remember to be kind and rewind. We'll see you next time.